We are ready.
We are ready.
We are ready here too. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. This is the Public Information and Education Committee and Special Meeting of the Board of Directors, West Basin Municipal Water District, July 20th, and it is now 1 minute after 11. And we'll now determine if there is a quorum.
Williams, I will read through the roll call. Chairman Harold Williams. Here. Director Scott Houston. Here. Director Desi Alvarez. Director Don Deere. Here. And Director Gloria Gray.
Here.
Chairman Williams, we have a quorum.
Okay, with that, we will move on to public comment.
Chairman Williams, we have not received any requests for public comment today, but this meeting is both in person and held virtually. So we would ask the folks who are attending virtually to raise their virtual hand if they have a public comment request. Chairman Williams, we do not have a request for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, then presentations.
Staff has no presentations for today.
We'll move on to the action calendar, and I will give control to our acting general manager.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Staff's proposal to increase the budget for the grass replacement program will be presented by Jennifer Vasquez, our water policy and resource analyst too.
Good morning, Chair Williams, committee and board members. This action item begins on board packet page 3 under grass replacement program budget adjustment. With the adoption of the district fiscal year 23-24 budget, West Basin recognized the importance of continuing strong focus on outdoor water efficiency through the adoption of drought tolerant landscapes that conserve water, runoff, and benefit the local environment. As described in the summary, grass replacement rebate program activity reached increased levels of participation in fiscal year 23-24 due to a variety of factors, including increased conservation messaging and water use emergency regulations during portions of the past year. As we shared last month, our program saw the highest levels of application activity in closing out the most recent fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Much of this activity occurred in the final months of the fiscal year, which is why Metropolitan was only recently able to inform us that some of our rebate accounts were getting close to being fully obligated. We are excited that our retail water suppliers and other community partners have really stepped up their efforts over the last year or two to promote these enhanced rebate amounts and seek out opportunities to increase participation levels and rates with every sector of the region, including residential, public agencies, which we saw the most activity in this past fiscal year. Due to unprecedented success of our rebate programs, the higher level of participation from the previous fiscal year have resulted in an elevated carryover balance into this new fiscal year that just started. Carryover balances reflect approved rebate applications that are either in queue for completion, in construction, or awaiting checks from a completed project. We don't expect every single project that's included in the current carryover balance to reach completion. However, the way that Metropolitan operates, its rebate program means that we are unable to include supplemental rebate funding from our own budget once the specified threshold has been reached. Increased activity in fiscal year 22-23 created a unique scenario in July 2023, this current month, as a large portion of the carryover essentially pre-obligated the funds in our new program budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. Typically, carryover balances have been much smaller in the past years, which meant our new fiscal year budget for the program was able to cover the carryover and still accept new applications. It is definitely not the case this year, with pending carryover applications at a much higher level not seen before. West Basin initially budgeted $600,000 for this rebate program, which includes incentives for residential, commercial, and public agency customers. One bit of good news is that existing grants from the Department of Water Resources and the United States Bureau of Reclamation will offset up to 530,000 of those funds that were obligated in the fiscal year budget. That means only a minor portion of the current funding will be borne by our West Basin program funding. As of July 6, 2023, a carryover balance of $450,529, which is included in the board memo, is shown for active applications on the SoCal WaterSmart database. So please note that the funding request before you today will go directly towards supplementing incentive amounts for both the $3 residential grass replacement funding and the grass replacement plus residential $5 rate. This is where we have seen the most activity, of course, within the residential sector of the program. Funding that staff is requesting, both of these programs are at risk of losing the West Basin matching funds in the coming months. We want to continue to see these programs enjoy robust and successful results, and it will be unfortunate to lose the positive momentum that we've built up these past few years. For these reasons, staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to increase the grass replacement rebate program funding for fiscal year 23-24 by $300,000 with the increased program funds to be paid through West Basin's reserves. Staff anticipates being able to use the added funding for its various residential programs over the coming years. I'm happy to answer any additional questions for this particular action item. We appreciate you considering and continuing to fund climate appropriate landscapes throughout the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Director Houston.
I don't know that I really have any questions, although I guess I do have one, and that is, so how are we tracking relative? You said we're getting close to not having enough if we don't authorize it. So do you offhand know where we're at with that?
Correct. Yeah, definitely. So for our residential programs, they actually have shared a carryover balance from the past fiscal year that is passing the amount. So they are waiting for us to make the determination if additional funds will be added to support that carryover balance. Essentially, these are projects that were either just started, right before the fiscal year ended that are coming over to this new fiscal year. So we are being asked by the Metropolitan staff to share with them if we are willing to add additional funding to support these grass replacement projects. And for new applications, we are pretty close to finalizing those dollar amounts with the reserve funds that we have that we initially put in with the fiscal year.
So,
Yeah.
Director Houston, just to provide you with some more, I guess, exact numbers.
Yeah.
For our regular residential rebate, we're about $15,000 over at this time. And for the grass replacement plus program, the disadvantaged communities rebate, the $5 rebate, we're about $10,000 under the threshold. So we would expect to reach that within the next month. And that would be the point when they would stop providing West Basin funds for these programs.
We just do the $2.
Exactly.
And if we authorize this additional 300,000, how long do you anticipate that will? Yes.
So we are anticipating directly plugging it into the residential program, split between the grass replacement plus program and the $3 rebate, the regular program. The way that we have the agreement with EGIA, the SoCal WaterSmart website, they closely track when we are getting close to that $10,000 level to flag if it's going to require additional funding. But we do anticipate it to at least give us that time to make any additional decision in the future. And it gives us comfort to know that there's enough coverage in the program as is for at least the foreseeable months is what we anticipate with this funding.
It should be able to take us at least through into the new year.
Yeah.
At which time we can kind of see where we're at.
One last question is, it does say, but this is going to come from reserve funds and it will affect our debt coverage. Now, obviously, $300,000 is, in my opinion, small relative to our whole budget, but does anybody have an answer as to how it might impact the debt coverage level, since that's noted here.
Definitely had that discussion with Marianne, as far as what that looks like from reserves. She did mention that we're really early in the fiscal year. So having that discussion now to at least be, we're beginning with the request for 300,000. We can definitely clarify with her after this is approved on additional information we can provide on how this might affect the budget as it moves forward.
Otherwise, I don't have any other questions, but I'm fully supportive of this, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you for asking my question. Now it's, my questions have been asked and answered. So I would recommend that this move on to the board, and Director Houston is in concurrence with that.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Dr. Williams, Chair Williams, next action item is 5B, and it is related to staff's recommendation to award an agreement for event production services related to the 2023 Water Harvest Festival. For this item, Melissa Buendia, Public Information Specialist 2, will be presenting. Melissa.
Good morning, members of the committee and board. A formal request for proposals was issued back in May 31st, 2023 for an event production consultant to assist staff in coordinating and implementing the 2023 Water Harvest Festival. And as mentioned in last month's committee meeting, after the first round of solicitation, staff did decide to do supplemental outreach to vendors and reissue the request for proposals for a longer period of time in order to secure additional submissions for consideration, because after the first round, we only received one proposal or submission. So the reissued solicitation timeline is actually outlined in Table 1 on packet page 5, and the scope of work document as well is provided as attachment A on packet page 8. So at the close of the submission period, West Basin received proposals from 3 firms, Bravo Productions, Coast to Coast Conferences and Events, and the Luke's Network. And two out of 3 of those organizations have submitted proposals to us in the past, so it's nice to see that. And the scoring of the proposals was based on the average of the totals of the panelists that we're reviewing. And as a resource, the final score sheet is also provided as an attachment, as attachment B on packet page 10. Overall review and scoring was based on criteria listed on packet page 6. With the goal of identifying the best overall value submission. So after going through the scoring process, staff is recommending entering into an agreement with Coast to Coast Conferences and Events. The scores between Bravo Productions, who has had experience with working with West Basin in the past, and Coast to Coast was very close, with only a difference of just under 1.5 points, but both vendors did score the maximum bonus points for being both small and local businesses, since both of them do operate out of the city of Long Beach. So with that in mind, Coast to Coast did score higher in most of the evaluation categories by that slight amount. That working with a new vendor this year will have a positive impact on the event as a whole. While we have yet to work with Coast to Coast Conferences and Events, they have submitted proposals to us in the past, and they have been of quality. And Coast to Coast, just as some background of the business itself, is a woman-owned local business that has produced over 2,500 events with a portfolio that includes a variety of clients ranging from corporate, associations, government entities, and large sporting organizations. And Coast to Coast is known for their effective client communications, as well as working collaboratively to reach client goals with quality and cost effectiveness in mind. So staff is confident that working with Coast to Coast this year will provide that fresh perspective on how to effectively produce this year's event. And with all of that said, I am happy to read the recommendation and address any questions after that. So the recommendation is staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Manire Management Incorporated, doing business as Coast to Coast Conferences and Events, to help coordinate and implement the 2023 Water Harvest Festival for a contract amount of $87,953 and with a 2.3% contingency for a not to exceed total amount of $90,000. Happy to take any questions or comments.
Director Houston.
All right, thank you very much. I think it's great you now got some folks that were in competition, let alone it was really tight. I can see that. And my only question on it is, do you feel confident and comfortable that these folks, really live up to your expectations? Because I know it says they've done 2,500 plus events, and it sounds like they got a great track record. How do you all feel about working with this?
And I've had conversation. Yes, thank you for that question. I've had conversation during our vendor outreach that we did. They have Michelle, who's their lead on that for that agency. She had provided proposals to us in the past. I believe she submitted for both 2018 and 2019. And just for various reasons, we ended up going with Bravo Productions for that. And so in having conversations with her and getting to learn a little bit more about how she structures her team and how they laid out in their proposal how they plan to support the various moving pieces that encompasses this event, it did provide confidence for me as for the team to help lead this event. And I know we did as a team, as we were scoring after we did our evaluations, we did discuss, is this the right way to go with a new vendor? I think, again, like I mentioned, I think it's going to provide good perspective on, we've been utilizing Bravo Productions for the past, I want to say 3 to 4 years. And I think it could be good for the team to see what it's like to run this type of event with that, again, that new perspective and maybe a different angle to get to the end goal.
Last question, because I know this is talking about the vendor, but when do we talk about next steps in planning? Is that on this item or is that later in the meeting or
So-
next month's already?
Yeah, so in August, that is when we will be providing more of the branding and the theme that we're thinking for. I can give you just a preview now because the team did discuss it. We are leaning towards a Water Heroes type of fun theme for this year's event. The flyer will be part of the attachments for next month's committee meeting, and that'll be tied with the discussion about the promotion and rollout plan for all of that to spread the word about. We will continue to work with the Office of the General Manager to make sure. I know that you mentioned prior that you have some organizations that you think we could use to reach out to for booth participants. That's part of the event planning program. I think I have some items in the communications update that point to that. We do plan on reaching out to potential booth participants in the next coming week. So if there's a list of organizations that you have, definitely we're happy to take a look at that.
Add, yeah, because I know we discussed this last time around, and good morning, directors. Yeah, so I'd say the time is now. So if you have any feedback or suggestions, please send them today if you have them. I think the sooner the better. We kind of roll out our plans. It's the same kind of structure. Melissa's done a wonderful job of keeping, all of our tasks in line. So, I would say there's no need to wait for committee meetings or whatnot if there's any particular ideas you want to pass our way. So thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll hold off for a minute because I don't want to take up the meeting, but I'd love to give a couple of thoughts real quick when the chance comes. But I don't want to steal from chairs running at this moment.
You can always talk.
Well, no,
But I was kidding.
okay. Don't give me the opportunity.
Go ahead, are you done?
Well, I'll just, since, here's what I'll do. Because what I don't want to have happen for all of us, of course, is August, they'll be here, then it's what, September, October, and then it's here. So I think if there's a way that you all have a draft of the flyer available prior that can be circulated to the board for feedback ahead of time, in the next 4 weeks or before the next committee meeting, I think that would be okay. If you can get that or not. So
I
that's
may ask too, because, right now is the moment where we are designing. The actual content itself, the little map, the information, it is pretty, the same information, and then with the difference of the theme, being some kind of water hero elements. So if there is any particular overall strategic direction, otherwise, if it's just a matter of colors and fonts and whatnot, then yeah, that could be pretty quickly. I don't know that it needs to be in the committee cycle, or if you have any input now that based on past experience, again, that way it informs the design process before we get, down the road. But again, it's a pretty standard set of information provided. So.
But no, personally, that's what I'm getting at. If you all have something sooner than next month, I think you should run it through the GM's office and get it to us so we could look at it and give you any feedback. I trust your creativity. I know that the ones in the past have worked really well. So let's, but what we don't want to do is wait till the August meeting and then we're like, uh-oh, we don't like this. Let's tweak it. And we waste 2 more, 3 more weeks, so on and so forth. So that would be that. I haven't talked, I think I had mentioned it to EJ a little bit, but the parking situation, I think maybe we were utilizing that one parking garage, but maybe we could talk to some other neighbors, so I can definitely chat with.
We're already doing that.
Good. There might be some other options there. Of course, sponsors, we obviously encourage you all to look for sponsors, and the earlier you guys start reaching out to folks, the better. So if there's ways that things can start moving without waiting.
They are.
Okay,
They
no,
are. They
You're
are.
on it. I will send you any other thoughts on the boost, but even the folks I've run into and I've asked them, they said you've already reached out. So that's real good. I've heard that. And
Just a note on the booths as well, because, we are trying to keep this very water focused, very educational. And so while we don't have a firm set of criteria, because we are inclusive of, organizations, we do try to keep it, focused with our themes of water use efficiency, conservation, recycling, and keeping it narrow. There are some things we noticed in the past too that we want to be mindful of in terms of advocacy or, anything that is beyond what we are trying to get at with our festival. So we do like to reserve some judgment in terms of making sure it's the right fit, not only for the size and elements, but when it comes to a call for booths and whatnot, we are open, but we want to make sure we keep the booths within the objectives of the educational.
well, one of them, for example, is Grades of Green, who worked with us on the grain barrel distribution, and they're based in El Segundo, but they serve all the South Bay and a lot of the west side. So, and I think that is in line with what we do in our theme. So hopefully they would be one of the ones you could ask if they'd like to have a booth.
I think they're typically on our list if they haven't been in the past.
Yes, they were included in our state visit.
Perfect. I think that's it at the moment, Mr. Chair, but I, love it. Staff is ahead of us. That's great.
Yeah, and again, now's the time. I would say it's here. So, thank you.
Perfect.
Mr. John, thank you. I would be concerned if they weren't ahead of us because you've been doing this for a while and you've been doing a great job. I've never, I've been coming to these for over the past 8 years or so, and I haven't seen a bad one yet. So, and like I say, I go to parties, I attend them, but I don't plan them. You, okay, so far, you've been doing a great job. Now, I do have a question concerning the vendors' references. Did you check those and what did they have to say?
References specifically, for Coast to Coast, they provided a list of their past experience. They're kind of bigger, the ones that they provided as their examples are kind of bigger organizations that didn't reach back out to us in the time that we needed to get that feedback from them. So unfortunately, we didn't hear from their specific references for this particular vendor. But again, I did have direct conversations with her and provided her feedback from past proposals that they provided. And again, staff does have that confidence that they do have, that experience.
You kind of faded out at the end there.
I can repeat myself. Yeah, we weren't able to receive feedback from the references that they provided for this particular vendor in the time that we were doing our evaluations, unfortunately. But again, I think in having conversations with this particular vendor, the experience that she shared in those conversations does provide the staff with that confidence that we feel is needed for the type of tier of this event that we're trying to host for the community. I think with their experience that they've provided, again, we think that it'll be a good new perspective for the team.
Okay. Well, with that, Director, what do you think?
So I would recommend it goes forward to the improvement board.
Oh, one last thing though, I'm sorry. Director Deere,
Yes.
comments?
When are you gonna bring a dunk tank here? That's a water.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that one.
I'm trying to put the newest director in.
We do have a newer.
Yeah.
You're okay with it?
Okay, very good. How about Director Gray? Are you still online?
I'm still online and thank you for asking all the questions I would have asked, but I'm still here and thank you, staff. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, I guess I concur with the Director Houston that this should go on to the board with a recommendation to approve and get started. That was your recommendation, but wasn't it? Okay, all right. Looking forward to another great water harvest event. Thank you so much. All right, next item.
We move on to the information calendar, and the first item there is an update about our water bottle filling station program, and Matt Bay, Manager of Water Policy and Resource Development, will provide that update or start off that.
Thank you, Marquez, and good morning, directors. I'll be handling this today for Tabby, who's in a metropolitan meeting right now. So just some good news to share. This program is entering its 7th year of partnerships with local, public, and some private entities to provide members of the community with access to safe and reliable tap water. As you know, this program also encourages the use of refillable, reusable bottles in an effort to reduce plastic waste. Last fiscal year, 22-23, we ended up with a total of 20 applications to the program, which is on the higher side, I think, for us historically. And included in this month's report is a listing of all the applicants. Most of those have been approved. However, there's still a few that are being reviewed in various parts of the process. So just to kind of go through the different divisions, some updates there. For Division 1, the city of Rolling Hills Estates has 2 locations where they have identified a need for a station. One is at Rock Bluff Park, and the other is at Ernie Howlett Park near the tennis club office. Both of those projects have already been approved by staff, and a letter from the GM and the check was actually sent out this week. For Division 2, there are 3 applications. 2 stations will be installed at Lenox Park, and the third would be installed at the Environmental Charter School in Inglewood. Those have also been approved already. In Division 3, we received a new application from the city of Manhattan Beach at their Heights Park location where they have tennis courts. That one's been approved. And then recently, the city of Torrance has expressed an interest to us in installing some water bottle filling stations at some of the locations that are actually within West Basin service area. However, they have some other projects that are kind of going on right now that they want to take care of first before they put in these new water stations. So they're going to circle back with us on their applications later this year. And those locations include, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, El Nido and Victor Parks. In Division 4, there's a total of 4 applications. 2 stations will be installed at Del Air Park, which have been approved. And then 2 stations will be installed at Temple Akiba of Culver City. And those have been approved, and a letter and check have been sent out to them. There's also, Tammy's working to get some photo opportunities in El Segundo at both the campus El Segundo and then also at El Segundo Middle School. I know they're out of session right now, so it could be, a month or so before they're back and ready to schedule that. Forthcoming. And then in Division 5, there's a total of 7 applications. We recently received 2 applications from LA County for their Alondra Park location. And we also received 2 new applications from the city of Hawthorne, the Environmental Charter High School in Gardena, and then Raleigh Park. So in total, we expended $28,000 of the budget for this past fiscal year, which again, I think is on the higher side. So we're very happy about that. And with the start of the new fiscal year, thanks to the directors, we have another $35,000 for the program this year that we look to spend as much as we can. So we'll be working on that. With that, that concludes my report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions?
My only question.
Director Gray, did I hear you?
Yes. Sorry, when you can you ask Division 2 information be repeated? I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of it. Once questions are answered, if you would.
The Division 2 projects?
Yes, Division 2.
Sure. So for Division 2, there's 3 applications. 2 stations will be installed at Lenox Park, and those ones have been approved, and a letter and check have been sent out already. And then the third project, which has been approved, will be installed at the Environmental Charter School in Inglewood.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything else?
Sure, Matt, what I was going to ask was, so obviously this is all last year's budget, right? So I don't even know if you know the answer, but have we gotten any new applications in that would apply to this current one? Or
I don't believe so. I asked Tammy about that this morning, and she didn't say that there were any, and there was a lot that were kind of dated like June 30th to get them in on that past fiscal year. And then I think, yeah, over the next week or two, we'll probably start to reach out for this upcoming budget year.
Okay, and then you probably know the answer, but Tammy can let us know later for me. Okay, Del Air, the parks, just what time frame they're thinking to get those installed.
Okay.
Okay. Go on.
Okay, next information item is 6B, and that's an update on our conservation programs. And Jennifer Vasquez, again, water policy and resource analyst. Jennifer Vasquez will do the presentation.
And we'll have Gus Mesa start his portion, and then I'll kick it over to me for the rest.
Apologies.
No worries.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Good morning, I'm Chairman Williams and directors. We'll be using the PowerPoint that's located on page 22 of the committee packet for this presentation. Here. Okay, thank you. Through our partnership with SoCalGas, we continue to provide residents in our priority areas with free water conservation devices and installations. On this slide, we show the devices and the number of installations. You can see the percentages. And to date, we've had 113 residents participate in the joint program with SoCalGas. Next slide, please. On packet page 24, we are currently working with SoCalGas and its vendor to promote this program. And as you can see here, we've listed the cities and the number of participants. Next slide. Per the request of the committee last month, staff developed a heat map that shows the locations of the 113 participants. As you can see here, each, kind of hard to see, but each small green dot on this map is an installation, and the bright yellow areas are higher concentrations of installations. The pink or salmon color that you see throughout our service area here, those are the priority areas that we are targeting for this program. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, can you go back? Sorry about that. Supposed to have a slide, thank you. We are using the EPA's EnviroScreen 4.0 mapping tool that scores the areas based on various factors like pollution and socioeconomic factors. The shaded area there in the city of El Segundo, for example, that's the refinery, but there are opportunities nearby in Del Air and Wiseburn for further promotion. Our new water policy and resource interns They are currently working with our GIS specialists here to identify the single-family homes that are located in what we call the cold areas that have little participation. As you can see in this map, we're going to be targeting the areas of North Inglewood, Westmont, Del Aire, Weisburn, South Gardena, North Carson, Rancho Dominguez, Carson, and West Carson. So we're currently developing that data of single-family homes, and we'll be providing that information to SoCal Gas and its marketing vendor. And so our plan is to have them distribute door hangers every month to these areas, so we get a more even participation throughout the priority areas, as you can see here.
Question? Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, just so we understand with the way the map is designed, the areas, I understand the heat and the hot parts, but the areas that are just plain shaded are also target areas, right? Is that what
Yes,
I'm-
the salmon colored areas.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, those are the priority areas based on the Enviro Screen 4.0 map.
So like if you went north into Inglewood on the north end, it's salmon shaded,
Yes.
those areas you'll be looking at target.
Yes.
So go down in the south part of Gardena, you know, parts of Hawthorne, so also you have Hawthorne, Del Aire, you're right, Weisburn and Holly Glen as well, looks like, right? Okay. And then you got parts of Carson and West Carson. Okay, so right now the concentration of people who participated are where the dots are, huh?
The yellow areas, yes.
Very cool. All right, perfect.
That was actually my, that was my last update. And so we plan on developing that data, working with SoCal Gas, further marketing this program. And of course, every month we'll be updating and presenting on this program and keeping the committee here updated on the progress.
Very good.
Let me ask one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
One more question then, Gus, on that note. So if you go back to the previous chart, which shows it's a pilot, right? Whole thing.
Yes, it was a pilot project last fiscal year. We call it phase one. This is more of a phase two. Yes.
Oh, so, but I mean back to that page 23. If, what's that one. So when you're continuing target, is that applying toward this batch that you haven't obviously 100% fulfilled, right?
Yes, we're targeting those total number of devices that you see in that
Yes.
column. And then you see the percent complete.
Right.
And we'll be updating this as well, because under the high efficiency toilet, with our amendment and extension last month, we increased that number to 232 toilets. And also for the hose bib, we went from 66 to 100 devices. We added funding for the marketing for phase two as well. That was part of the approval of the board last month.
Exactly. Okay. So the heat maps and other things apply to
Yes.
finishing out phase one and phase.
You're finishing out these numbers here, yes.
Okay. Got it. Got it. All right.
Next slide, please. Thank you. My next update is on our rain barrel events. I'm currently on page 27 of your packet. Staff has scheduled all but one of the events. You know, the high schools are out for the summer. So we've been reaching out to Maricosa High School in the city of Manhattan Beach. And I did receive an email from the principal that she forwarded all the information to the her science department, to those instructors to let them know about this program. So I'll be, you know, following up with them and trying to schedule that event as well. Our plan is to develop the marketing flyer and our other marketing strategies next month in August, and to begin promoting our first event. I can't believe it's coming up already. It'll be on September 23rd. It'll be here for Division One at our headquarters here. So then we're also, staff will also be working with board services to identify the community groups they'll be assisting us with those events. So we'll be reaching out to you, directors, here shortly to talk about that as well. That is my last update. Are there any questions or comments?
I got a question.
Well, of course.
Okay, guys, thank you. I know, so you've got Malibu Boys and Girls Club and they're all confirmed, right? The best of the Malibu.
I'll be reaching out to them, Director Houston. Yeah,
Great. And then I owe you the one for Culver City and you're waiting to hear back from West LA College, or are we good to go yet?
they're fine with December 2nd. I submitted the facility use permit to them, so that's in the works.
Nice. So actually, and I'm doing this in part too, because I'm not holding an event at Betsy Little this year, and it doesn't look like Director Alvarez either. Oh, okay. Either way, when you do the flyers, because some of these are still gonna, well, you're gonna have most of this will hopefully be determined. Are you trying to do one flyer for everybody up front, or are you gonna do what you've got for the first flyer, you know, for Director Williams's and then go after that? Or what's the thought here? Unless the dates all start solidifying.
So the goal is always to ideally have just one flyer that encompasses all of the events and their dates just for version control. But if absolutely necessary, if there's one or two that are not fully confirmed by the time we need to start rolling out this program, then that's when we would do the tiered approach of this first version flyer and then follow it up with that full flyer.
Obviously, I think it's ideal if we can get them all in one flyer, but you know, you guys got to finalize a couple dates here. So,
And I know just one thing to add in terms of individualized pieces, we definitely do individualized pieces for social media. So we'll definitely have those variants as well. But in terms of the flyer, yes, that's our goal to have one, if at all possible.
Director Deere, Director Gray.
I'm here, thank you. No question. Can
Carry
you
on.
hear me?
Yes, thank you.
That was my last update. I'll go ahead and turn this over to Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you. I will continue the conservation updates presentation slide found on board packet page 29 with updates to the Grass Replacement Plus program. The Grass Replacement Plus program launched on June 21st this year with a goal of distributing 35 landscape designs. As of July 6th, there was a total of 16 eligible applications submitted to the West Basin Program website for Grass Replacement Plus. I am happy to report that we are now at a total of 18 applications. Ecotech has begun reaching out to each resident to schedule the initial landscape design consultation. So this, of course, includes time for the resident to share what they would like to see in their new landscape and review the program resources as they start designing their front yard or backyard. The breakdown of applications per city is included on the next slide on packet page 30. Additionally, in the next slide, staff highlighted some of the initial responses for the application questions that are included in the grass replacement form as people are applying and residents are applying for this program. One thing to note on this slide specifically is that front yards are considered for removal at the higher rate. You see that in answering which area you would be interested in applying for. Front yards are coming on top, and that continues even with the newest applications. They are also noting on the next slide, another of the questions we ask is, you know, how much planning have you done for this project? And many of them are answering not sure where to get started. So that's a common response for that question, for example, as far as how far along they are in the design planning. So it's really highlighting the impact that offering design assistance is having with Grass Replacement Plus specifically in advancing some of these projects. Next slides include, or the next slide includes just photos that are received to our application platform. Many of them, of course, the two that I'm highlighting here are front yards, of course, areas that people are looking at removing the grass and that will be scheduled with the design consultation. We did shift to making this mandatory. Our pilot phase was something that was not required, but now it is mandatory as part of the application form when they are filling it out. It helps us visualize the area. It also helps our landscape designer that will be going out to these sites to know exactly where the removal of the grass will be happening. And moving into kind of the last slide, or prior to going to grass replacement rebate, I did want to just thank Melissa and the PI team's effort in launching the program, from drafting the dual language flyers, designing the program website to make it easier to understand, launching the press release. Their team has been instrumental in this initial success, and Melissa's leadership is one to call out in bringing creativity and clarity in the communication efforts for the second phase of the program. So thank you. Moving into the residential grass replacement rebate slides on page 35. For the month of June, the SoCal WaterSmart website received a total of 13 new applications, bringing our total square footage processed and closing fiscal year 22-23 to 327,614 square feet of included in applications received. The next slide on board packet page 37 includes the look ahead calendar with dates on the grass replacement classes that are continue to be offered virtually by Metropolitan. I will take a brief pause here to answer any questions on the residential grass replacement program, Grass Plus, before moving into the public agency updates on page 39.
A quick question for you. So on Grass Replacement Plus, it says here, our goal is distributing 35 landscape. Obviously, right? So when you say we have 15 applications or 16, that'd be the number. So are we, I mean, we're almost halfway there already. Is that what you're telling us?
Exactly. That's correct. Yeah, the success of that announcement, the press release, it being included in the COGS newsletter, all of the great work that I mentioned the PI team has really led, has created this interest. And we typically have seen that even in our pilot phase, where they go really quickly. And then, of course, the design consultation phase, the landscape design portion takes a little bit longer, that back and forth between residents, making sure they have their design to their liking. So we anticipated some of this great action is just seeing how fast the rest of the packages go. If we need to engage newsletters again, any type of additional announcements. We have great content, of course, with our pilot program. So that really is where the collaboration with our teams comes in.
I was getting at because I've obviously been talking about it a lot to folks. Even though in parts of my district actually are not eligible, but I still talk about it for others, you know, not about. I'm just realizing, so there'll probably come a point where you'll keep us posted where we don't need to push it as much, if you will, if we maxed out applications, right?
Definitely, yes. As we get closer to the 35 packages, what I can do is just make a note to send out an email notification of we are reaching capacity so that everyone is aware. Yeah. If there are no further questions, I can continue with the.
Good. Go on.
Perfect. So moving into the public agency updates on page 39, this slide does highlight the ongoing Hawthorne Unified School District project at Eucalyptus Elementary School. This project is working to remove 2,578 square feet of grass, including a variety of California natives. They're including California milkweed and various sages in their new design. I'll continue. It was designed through this public agency design assistance program and includes partnership with Rocus Roots. It's really hard for me to say that, the double R's. Their vision is to create artistically vibrant and environmentally resilient neighborhoods for all residents, regardless of social or economic standing. So it's a great nonprofit that's partnering with this elementary school to put together this garden, and of course with our design assistants that we engaged with in the beginning of this project planning. Some other general updates for the public agency projects. El Camino College facility did inform staff that there's a new director for they their staff overseeing this project. So we actually will be hosting an in-person meeting next week to review the landscape design, make sure that that new staff member is comfortable with what we planned with the prior staff that was handling this project. So it's introducing what our concept is, making sure they feel comfortable and answering any questions about the process, the rebate, and just the areas that we envisioned with that landscape design. And so that will be happening next week. I will have more information to update after that meeting happening next week.
Good.
Redondo Beach, just a last update, received an irrigation plan to include with their design package to transform the irrigation to drip. So they did select a drip system for the areas around the city hall area that were shown for design. And so we did send over an irrigation plan for them to consider in the construction phase. On board packet page 40, it does include the closing activity for commercial and public agency grass replacement. This being in the June timeframe, of course, it also very similar, just shows the total square footage that we ended, which is 455,078 of applications that were received to our system for commercial and public agency rebate applications. The last of my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions? Don't believe it.
So with the public agencies applications, and obviously new fiscal year, so those are still moving forward, right? Because I just recently saw one of the council members in El Segundo, they're going to be doing a lot of different things in the city. So, we'll talk offline, but, I think they're really finally getting to where they want some engagement. And of course, I've been talking to you about Culver City and about West Hollywood. So all that being said, we've got plenty of funding for that particular program.
Well,
This fiscal year, right?
yes, so we definitely have enough funding for the design assistance portion. The square footage for the rebate application side, with the decision of today that what we discussed, it definitely, you notice that some of the funding, we mentioned 450 was allotted. We left some funding for public agency, which is why we've talked about that dollar amount. So there's definitely funding for the rebate plugged in for public agency projects specifically. And so as we see some of the ones that have received the designs move forward into the application stage, we can anticipate that some of it, depending on how large their projects are, could take some of that funding away, and we will need to come back for public agency in some point in the future. But we would have to see those applications come in first and us get closer to spending that amount before we come forward to identify that as a need.
Very good. I guess in all of this, what I'm making sure I understand and stay clear on is when we get to a point where we need to touch it down, talking about it or outreach, because you all have to let us know, of course, to say, hey, you know what, we're going to max out on financials here. We're monitoring it, and you do it at these meetings, but it's probably something to talk to the general manager to say, okay, just always out there talking about it all the time. And I'm pushing really hard for so many cities to participate, but I don't want to overstretch. Not going to come to fruition. So just, you guys got to make sure, you keep me posted that if there's too many things coming in at you, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing to add that kind of also brings complexity to this is that Metropolitan applied for funding for turf replacement. And a lot of that at 30 million, in the range of 30 million for the service area, they are plugging a lot of that funding into public agency. So even if our funds get to a point where we're not supplementing it with our West Basin funds, their base rate for Metropolitan's rebate currently with the grant funding is $4 per square foot for public agencies specifically. So there is that great news of that's how they're utilizing that funding to plug it into directly public agency projects and commercial projects actually, but they're really focusing on public agencies. So there could be a notification from me coming that there's still funding from the Metropolitan grant that's allowing for these increased incentives for public agency, even if West Basin is not putting in their supplemental. That makes sense. I know it's a little bit complex to explain at times.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to hear. So that's good. Okay. Thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you.
Very good. Next.
Next, we have Item 6C on the information calendar, education program update will be presented by our education coordinator, Janelle Kayan.
Thank you, Martha. And good morning still, Chair Williams and members of the board and committee. Of course, I'm happy to present our education programs update, but before I would actually like to take this opportunity to introduce one of our new interns that started with West Basin recently. So directly behind me is Taylor Freeze. She is a student studying environmental and occupational health at Cal State Northridge, correct?
Yeah.
Cal State what?
Northridge.
Northridge.
Yes, so we're very excited to have her on board. I was looking forward to introducing her before her workday ends in approximately 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it here so far, and I'm really excited to learn more.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity. Thank you, Janelle, for allowing us that time. We have 2 interns, as Gus mentioned, they are already breaking ground and working in our projects. So we have Cherish Holloman. And if you want to mention anything, feel free.
Yeah, I'm just super happy to be here. It's been super interesting. Especially just like all the board meetings and things like that. So I love that.
Thank you. We have Genesis Fernandez, also joining our team as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be part of the West Basin team and to we really learn from everybody here.
Thank you. We're really excited to have them. And again, thank you, Janelle, for allowing us to introduce them really quickly.
Thank
You
you
didn't
for the
indicate the school that you,
Oh, I just recently graduated from Cal State Long Beach with degree in environmental science and policy.
outstanding school.
Oh, I love it too. I went to the University of Redlands.
Redlands. Is that out in Redlands? Oh, welcome aboard, all of you.
Thank you, everyone, for that brief intermission. So thank you guys for pulling this up. We're actually going to start on page 45 of the agenda packet that goes along with our program overview. And here we see a really nice and cute thank you letter from a student named Rito from Lomita Steam Magnet Elementary School. And we're just going to be going over an end of the year participation report from the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 school year. So moving on to the next page of the agenda packet, this is packet page 46. You can see in the past school year, we reached a whopping 8,256 students through our various education programs, which is indeed an overall increase from last school year as well. I also want to note that there is an additional breakdown of participation by division, date, and each program as attachments of the agenda as well. So moving on into packet page 48. Next one, where we're highlighting some of our visitors for our school tour program. Really just wanted to highlight the really nice words that we have from Mr. Leonard over here. And it was one of the first years that we were able to bring the Larchmont Charter School all the way from West Hollywood for a school tour, including a visit to the Roundhouse Aquarium. So we were luckily able to work with the traffic and the timing and still give them a very excellent school tour experience. Moving on to the next page, you can see just a summary breakdown by division. And I do want to note that we do see a slightly lower participation for Division 2 this year. That is actually largely due to the recent redistricting. We did get a number of schools that participated from Lenox, which used to be in Division 2, but is now redistricted under Division 5. So with that said, we did actually see a pretty even participation of school tours throughout all 5 divisions this year. You can also go on to the next page of the agenda packet where you can see just another pie chart way that we're showcasing the participation from this past school year and the previous one from fiscal year 2021 and 2022. One of the nice things is that we did actually get to decrease our out of district participation as well.
Question real quick. Yes, go ahead.
Actually, on that slide of all your field trips,
Yes.
now on the total, it says 9. I think you didn't add that on the bottom, or am I just wrong?
Which
At the
packet?
bottom, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You're so right. That is a major mistake. Let me go ahead and pull that up.
Yeah,
The actual total is 98 school
90.
tours.
98?
Yes, that's correct.
Nice.
If you look at packet or at the attachment B on the agenda packet, it does have the more attachments. So sorry about that. We had more than 9.
There's 9 in one division, let alone
Yeah.
all these other ones. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. So let's move on to page 52 of the agenda packet for our art contest highlights. You can see that we got pretty good coverage and mentions from educators and school districts from our service area, kind of promoting our art contest winners. And on the next page, we have a participation summary. Hopefully the numbers are correct on this. I should have triple checked it. But again, we had a record-breaking year with over 900 submissions received this year. And it was largely due to the number of art lessons and art supply kits that we provided to schools in the area. One thing that I want to note is you'll kind of see that our art supply kits are kind of focused on Division 2 and Division 5, but that's because we only allow schools located in DACs to receive this art for disadvantaged communities. Okay, on to the next slide, please. Moving on for our Water Engineering for Good program. Just as a quick reminder to the committee, this program replaced our Solar Cup program, and it was kind of in the pilot phase of it this year. Participation from the other member agencies of MET was relatively low. So our team from Palos Verdes Peninsula High School was one of the 12 overall participating teams. Usually for Solar Cup, we get closer to 40. But from this team, you can see that while they did not get first place, they did place 5th overall. And you can see the machine that they engineered over in this photo, which is a solar powered desalinator, which is supposed to solve a water conservation issue. So I'm very impressed with what they produced, which was all made with either recycled materials and cost less than $25. So it's pretty incredible. Okay, moving on to the next couple of pages of the agenda packet, focusing on our assembly program, which is called a Drop in the Bucket, which is once again implemented by our partner Wildwoods LA. These are just a few good snapshots of schools within our service area. On the left, there you can see the students holding pipe pieces because they're building their own aqueducts. Or on the right photo, you can see students are trying to order those common household items based off of water conservation. So from a piece of paper, milk, and a pair of shoes, things like that. So really enjoying this program because it gives students the hands-on opportunity to build an aqueduct, as well as learn about real ways that they can conserve water and see that impact in their own homes and lives. Moving on to the next couple of pages for our teach and test program. We have a great photo of what the sampling station. We are on page 60 of the agenda packet. And again, we see our actual lab location where we have the student interns and student volunteers actually processing samples. Once again, the Teach and Test program is an opportunity for students to become advocates for water quality by publicly publishing data from several places along the coast to make sure that the public is aware of water quality efforts in our service area. If we go on to the next page of the agenda packet, you can see that this was actually another record-breaking year for Teach and Test. Once again, we're very thankful for the students that have participated. This is the first time that our lab might have been too small for all of the students that wanted to participate, because consistently between 60 to 80 students were just showing up and wanting to participate and get that environmental science experience in this program. So you can see the schools that participated in this program, as well as a couple of nonprofits. I do want to point out a new school that we're working with is Environmental Charter High School, which is something that we're very happy about, having more schools from inner cities starting to participate. And we will actually be working with them alongside the Gardena Willows to hopefully expand to a second laboratory in the next few years. So we'll, of course, have that as the future discussion point when it gets to that point. So once again, last thing for Teach and Test is that we do plan to sponsor them, of course, for the next fiscal year. It is included in our budget for fiscal year 23-24, and we will be processing that sponsorship in the next month or so and invite the board of directors for a check presentation when it comes to that as well. With the teaching tests closing right now. I will take a break for any questions before I just move on into general education program highlights.
Questions?
Lovely. Thank you very much. So we're moving on to page 63 of the agenda packet. On to the next slide. So you can just see, this is not actually included in the metrics that I showed in the beginning part of this presentation. So these are all kind of the ad hoc requests that we supported, whether it be tours at ECL or Tech Trek alumni, or Grades of Green also joined us for a tour at ECL as well. We also have several career fairs and STEAM festivals that we supported our local schools on. So again, just showing how hard we're working to create meaningful partnerships with educators, students, and schools from our service area. That said, we just are going to close out with a few photos showcasing some of these elements. So on the next page, you can see this was a tour from the Palos Verdes Students Love 4-H Club, and it was actually picked up in an article by UC Ag and Natural Resources. So I was really thankful for that partnership. On the next page, we have a partnership with where we were invited by the Water Replenishment District to feature Susanna on a panel about careers in the water industry, which is a really well-planned event. On the next page, we have a tour of LA Trade Tech. We had a couple of professors bring in their students to get a tour of ECL, and it was really great for them to speak with some of the Veolia staff members to talk about real career pathways within the water industry. Okay, and on the last page, I believe, also mentioning our WaterStar Student Conservation Kit program. And this is a program in which we provide all students that go on a school tour with us with water conservation devices that they can use to lower their water bill at home and spread water conservation to their families as well. In order to promote participation in the program, we do also have a quarterly raffle where we highlight the teacher and the student. We're able to give the teacher a gift card to support their classroom, and the students little bacteria dolls that are featured on our school tours. And then we do feature them on social media. So this is a photo of our recent winner from Adams Middle School in Redondo Beach. So with that, that does conclude my remarks. And I just want to say that it was an overall really great year, moving back to like full-on in-person with our school districts. And of course, we continue to work with all of the school districts, schools, and teachers within our service area to improve our offerings and increase access to everyone. With that, I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you.
Questions? I just would like to make a comment that I'm happy to see that LA Trade Tech College tour. Happy, really, really happy to see that, because I graduated from Trade Tech back in the thrilling days of yesteryear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Director Deere?
Oh, Trade Tech goes way back, doesn't it?
Way back. Anyone else? If not, back to Barkat.
Williams, the last item we have on
Hello.
information.
Oh, I'm sorry. Director Gray.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank staff for all the report this morning. I have to get off the phone, so I just wanted to let you know. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Last item on the information calendar, item 6D, which starts on packet page 78, is the communications update, and Melissa again will be providing the presentation for this item.
Hello again. As mentioned, I will be providing an overview of the communications efforts that have taken place over the month of June 2023. So actually, let's go to the next slide, please, on packet page 80, where you'll see a summary of the announcements that were made in the past month. So a press release was oops, go back one, I think. A press release was announcing the relaunch of the Grass Replacement Plus. Thank you. The Grass Replacement Plus program was distributed on June 21st. And To supplement that, we also posted a web news story as well. In addition, we have another 3 news stories that were posted to our website, announcing the district's transition to new goods and services bidding system, a summary of the water bottle filling stations, the new ones that had been installed in the past fiscal year in the service area, and then the announcement of EJ as the new general manager. And moving along to packet page 81, this summarizes the earned media coverage for the month. Some highlights include mentions of West Basin's Water Lab community education programs, a feature of West Basin student education programs, as well as an acknowledgement of the sponsorship of the 10th Council District Women's Steering Committee luncheon that honored 5 college-bound students with scholarships. And attachment B on packet page 87 is the full media clips handout, which you can take a look at as well. And then moving along to packet page 83 for social media highlights. Top posts for Facebook included a recruitment post for our administrative assistant and office, as well as, again, the Grass Replacement Plus launch. Our top post highlighted the June public tour of our facility in El Segundo, as well as the WaterStar Student Conservation winner that Janelle mentioned in the previous item. On packet page 84, the top post for LinkedIn included a post featuring our very own Jennifer Vasquez during her presentation at the California Water Efficiency Partnership, and she discussed the commercial water use survey program that she's currently leading. And on Twitter, the top post featured a post highlighting a Mediterranean style garden, as well as a water supply update. And moving along to packet page 86 for some upcoming communication opportunities. I previewed this in the water harvest item earlier in the agenda. So event planning continues for the water harvest event. So in addition to onboarding the event production company, as well as moving forward with developing the branded materials for the event, outreach already has been taking place for save the date for potential booth participants. And just to reiterate, if there is any feedback or suggestions or ideas that you would like to send our way, we're happy to receive that between the committee cycles, just so we can continue to keep moving forward with it. Other highlights on the upcoming communications efforts include a summer announcement of the recycled water fill station launch, a late summer launch of the rain barrel program, as Gus mentioned, and an ongoing construction outreach in the summer and fall for the Palos Verdes recycled water pipeline project. And I do have a few highlights to share about this specifically, but I do have Daryl Ramos Young here to address any additional questions of who he is, the one that is currently leading this effort. But I will read a couple of the highlights here for the PB pipeline project. So West Basin's contracted construction awareness team, Murakawa Communications, has completed canvassing of all businesses along the pipeline alignment. And the construction awareness team did receive positive feedback from the business owners, expressing appreciation for this proactive advance notice. Additionally, this month, they will also begin outreach to community stakeholder groups for presentation opportunities, including the Riviera Little League, equestrian clubs, and affected schools in the area. And the board, of course, will be notified of these presentations that will be taking place. And lastly, in terms of the highlights, Murakawa Communications is confirming details and format for a tentative project presentation on Wednesday, August 9th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. With Torrance Parks and Recreation Commission, during the Torrance Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. So again, that's just a few highlights of the ongoing and upcoming communications efforts or outreach efforts that Murakawa Communications is doing for the PB project. But again, if there's any questions specifically about that, I'm happy to turn it over to you. For that, I think that covers, yes, that covers the items for the communications update. I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
A couple questions, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Let's see. So the recycled water fill station launch, which I know we're working to that finalized. And, that says summer. Of course, we're already practically midway through summer. So do you all have an idea of when we will be completing that project and preparing to launch? You know, because we really haven't talked about dates.
Yeah, no, and I think, thank you for that question. I think we kind of talked about summer availability and all the things that are starting to come up for the fall. So no date is set. Right now, Camille Castillo is the project manager on the engineering team who's overseeing all this. We're awaiting permits.
Okay.
I think just for planning purposes, we had planned for an end of July as like the soonest. I don't believe that is likely. I mean, at this point, we as the PI team launching an event, we wouldn't recommend that at this point. So it really is dependent on the permitting approvals. But, you know, as far as event planning is concerned, because we do see this more, since we're the only stakeholder truly, you know, more driven by, you know, a photo opportunity with the board, but more so a media outreach approach just to generate the widest net possible in terms of letting people know that it's available. And so with that, we would probably want at least 3 weeks lead time to arrange. I mean, honestly, broadcast news don't make the commitment until sometimes the day of on what they're going to cover. But nonetheless, we do want to provide, you know, an advisory and let them know. And of course, prepare the announcement, which actually we already have in draft form. It's just a matter of at what point we move it through so that it's timely. So we are in the works and working very closely with the project manager, but no date set.
So I can add to that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I almost called you.
We did receive the pieces of equipment that we need to make the installation. Yeah, we also received all the signage. So it's all available and ready to install. And like Amy said, it's a matter of just getting the permit approval and then activating.
Because, and I know, I think you all usually update it, you know, right? So my only thought would be, as we know when certain things are coming together, and of course we'll work, you know, offline on this, and then we can figure out the dates to do an official announcement, a launch, whatever other things you want to do. Because ironically, and I think I did let you all know last month or so, but when I was at the El Segundo Kiwanis Club, somebody asked a question, can we do this? And I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, we are working on it. So more to come. So there already has been a little bit of interest just locally. So I'm really looking forward just to even get the information out when the time comes, but also knowing that August is going to be pretty busy. I know, you know, I'm going to do some traveling, so other people are probably doing things. So we're going to meet. There's not a rush for next month, as far as I'm concerned. You all got water harvest and things like that to deal with too. But as Barkev and the team finalize things, that'll help us in working with EJ on planning. But I do, you know, we want to make sure we're just putting that out far and wide so people understand it's available and how the process works, right? So just a thought, you know, but it sounds like it's probably going to be pushing at least late August, if into September, quite frankly. And I don't want to rush it, but I do want all the directors as much as possible to be available to be a participant in whatever we end up doing.
And we do look at that too, and especially with Daryl's role, kind of overseeing community outreach. He's looking at everything from this bird's eye view of all that's going on too, to pick right dates. And then we work very closely with the board secretary in terms of the schedule, the director's schedule and the schedule of events that we have. So definitely, you know, and I know we talked about this last time. She gave you some days that are generally not good, and then we'll keep us apprised. So we'll definitely, as things come close for any of the events that we've got coming up for the fall, you know, we'll make sure that everything's in alignment. Yeah, and then Rain Barrels and Festival, this, and then the one in Millinger McDonald phase 2 completion is kind of that other lingering one as well.
And all right, one last thing, Mr. Chair, and that was, so now the Rain Barrel program relaunch announcement, which again is probably dependent on trying to get all the dates final, because don't you do like a announcement or a press release or something, and then you put all the dates in, right? Okay. So obviously I fully support that when we're ready to make an announcement. Okay, and that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. All right. Next.
Chairman Williams, that concludes our commission calendar. Next is closed session. We do not have any closed session items. Therefore, the next item is director comments and future agenda items.
Okay, Director's comments. Last chance, Director Houston.
I do have, actually, I forgot to ask the question, the last one, and that was regarding social media. And I know we all do the for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But we also had a conversation at the Southern California Water Coalition recently, which you guys do on that board too, on behalf of West Basin. And they've started moving over to Threads, yes. So I personally have not done that yet, but everybody knows how Twitter is and where it's going. And we had an interesting conversation between, Linda Pinsky and Charlie Wilson, as well as the exec board of the California Water Coalition. So they've at least started the process to utilize Threads and are starting to do that. And also it was said amongst some of the people on the meeting, of course, the Twitter's really devolved. So for what it's worth, I don't know where West Basin is on that. I don't want to add extra work to you all, but I assume at some point we're thinking to at least add it maybe, and or if we're not getting the bang for the buck, or it's, going to go down the tubes, we're going to get out of Twitter at some point. So what is staff's thoughts on this?
I will, just speak very generally. We can come back to this because honestly, Janelle's been instrumental in social media, and we've been discussing kind of some of our strategic plans and goals for social media. And as you may have noticed on the homepage of our website, we actually had to take the Twitter feed down because it was broken. Twitter broke it.
Yeah.
It's a widget that pulls from
I
it.
think it happened on my own website.
Yeah, so it wasn't really working as well. So that's something, a lot of with the changes and the verifications and the blue check marks and whatnot, it's something we're looking at. Do we want to keep this? Threads is certainly something that we can look into as an alternative or something we want to do as a potential, replacement and or new outlet. I will say that we are looking to bring on Nextdoor this year finally. Now, I would say it's been about a year now that special districts have been allowed to have an account that encompasses more than one city. And I know we've had this discussion for a long time in terms of Nextdoor, but what we really need to do, I think we already have like the account and the GIS mapping and everything uploaded. It's more of having the staff resources and time to identify, how we're going to operate, the criteria to which we are going to have, interaction engagement, and just really kind of having some benchmarks and boundaries. And so kind of it would probably be a similar process for Threads if we were going to do it. I think that also just looking at our strategic plan again in terms of what we're truly able to implement well, and kind of making sure we're being very thorough in the channels that we do own and run, as opposed to just adding more for more sake. And so we'll look at it from all those lenses, but I'm glad you acknowledged the Twitter issues. I know it's in the news all the time. So we will be looking at that with our new fiscal year, and especially as we kind of, look at how our team responsibilities are hashing out and prioritizing certain projects.
Yeah, like everything, it's changing quickly. Some things, different audiences, as you know. I think we've done really well on social media, but now that environment's changing, and then of course, how many people, like 100 million people are now on Threads, apparently, something like that. It's a lot of folks have signed up, and it's to your Instagram account. But back to what was being discussed, a lot of people are just, changing course because Twitter has just become a mess. Now, of course, it's also good when people can go there and see you're utilizing it. And most of the political people in the county and others still use it, but there'll probably be a point where, where's the audience? What's the bang for the buck? So maybe it's something you'll do this already, Amy, but in the next month or two, as you're all doing your plan, you can just keep us updated on what your thoughts are. Again, I don't want to add extra work, but we also want to make sure that if an audience isn't there anymore, we'll migrate to something else, or what are our cities doing? I just feel like at some point, a number of folks are going to start jumping ship from Twitter, or it's just kind of there. But, one last thing, unfortunately, someone puts just a normal thing up there, a good thing, and then they just get attacked right and left, and it's a lot of bots and just crap. So, there comes a point where why bother utilizing that tool? If it's just going to be a bunch of nonsense. So anyway, thank you for indulging me, Amy. Something for you all to look at.
All right, your time's up.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, My time is up. So this meeting is adjourned.
Directors, thank you, staff.